What's up guys, welcome back to Destiny Updates. Today we'll be taking a look at an interview on ZAM with Eric Osborne or Irk from Bungie. I mentioned one thing from this already in the Vanguard report, but you guys asked for a full breakdown, so here it is. So the first bit of Destiny discussion that I found interesting was when talking about the public events and drop-in, drop-out nature of the multiplayer. He reminded us that it's completely optional. You need to opt into those things. You can play the game however you want to. But then he said, in fact, you could fight the spider tank alone if nobody else joined in. You might have a hell of a time with it, but it could be fun. Some players might want that challenge. I thought that was quite interesting that you could tackle those things alone if you wanted the challenge. One thing though, he said if nobody else joined in, making me think that he meant that as in if no players are in your area or those players decide to avoid the event so no one ends up joining. Not so much as changing a setting to prevent anyone from joining, if that made any sense. Now even though they said that you have to opt in to those types of experiences, I still think that basically means walking into the public event or walking around it, not actually clicking a button to opt in or out, because they've said there won't be any menu or UI for public events. It's all intuitive. Next, they said that the world will be littered with what Irk described as ambient encounters to support light cooperative play. What exactly they mean by light cooperative play, I'm not sure. I'm guessing it's just like funner or easier little objectives. Things like clearing a small building to collect something, or killing a low-level boss maybe? I don't know. But they go on to say that for those looking for a meatier challenge, other options will be available. Then Irk says, you might do a strike with friends, or a raid with some of your best friends. After which he added that raids would require a higher number of players, much more planning and strategy, and be much more focused for players who want that type of experience. So it definitely sounds like raids will be the more challenging game mode, requiring more strategy, planning, and players, as he said. And I'm guessing that things like kitting out in specific gear to counter each raid's unique complications could be part of the planning process. And I'm guessing that things like kitting out in specific gear to counter each raid's unique complications could be part of the planning process. It's also worth noting that he said you might do a strike with friends, but then for raids he added some of your best friends, making it sound like maybe you wouldn't want to go into a raid with any random person. Now, if raids will require more of a team to be fun, I'll be creating a guild in Destiny that everyone will be welcome to join. A friend said I should call it the DUA, or Destiny Updates Army, but I think maybe that sounds a little too generic. What do you guys think? Does that sound cool, or should we come up with something else? Feel free to leave suggestions as well. But enough rambling, back to the news. The next thing Irk said was, it's a shooter, so it's a skill-based game as well. It's about targeting AI that's fun and worthy to fight, and using your skills to overcome them. I believe that's the first time players' skill has ever really come up, and I think that's good to hear. At certain points in the demos, Destiny did seem perhaps a little too easy, but it's important to note that things are changed for the purposes of keeping demos interesting. They don't want people dying while playing on stage. After that, the article says that Bungie's biggest challenge will be keeping us playing long after launch. Irk says, we think we have a really good opportunity now to provide the whole package, supporting people who love story, love cooperative, or love exploring. And then continuing, there are a lot of conversations in the studio right now between the frequency of lighter content and the novelty of some bigger rocks of content. And I think we have a really good first stab at what we think people will enjoy. So I find that pretty interesting. They're still deciding on the balance between releasing smaller pieces of content and larger chunks. Obviously, smaller pieces are nice because we can get them more frequently, so we keep getting new things to do, but they also don't have the depth and scale of a large expansion. And I personally think there's something exciting about waiting for them to finish a big hunk and then getting it all at once. But of course, the balance is important to keep everyone interested. Continuing in the same vein, discussing post-launch content, Irk says, a lot of it will depend on what the data tells us, what behavior tells us, and what feedback we get from the community. The cool thing is we're living in a world where we can give them frequent updates, we can stream data to them and change the world, and we absolutely want to do that. So that's pretty cool to hear in my opinion. Stuff isn't really set in stone, things will be changing, and a lot about how the game and universe will move forward is going to depend on what we tell them, both in the form of statistical data, like things players are spending a lot of time doing, what's obviously being enjoyed and what isn't, etc., as well as actual feedback on things like forums and all over the internet. Now continuing with what Irk was saying, he says, it's one of the big reasons why you make a persistent world, so you can keep giving them new gear, new things to go after, new treasure, new destinations, and a whole bunch of fun stuff to make it feel fresh over time. So there's a little glimpse at what might be to come in Destiny's future. Obviously, those are things you'd assume would be added, but it's still really cool to hear. Destiny certainly won't be getting boring and stale. But that's everything in the Zam interview. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, clicking the like button is always very much appreciated and helps out a lot, but that's entirely up to you. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.